Capturing Outposts is probably the longest quest in Escape from Tarkov as of 12.12.30. The amount of dick kickery you'll experience while trying to do this task is pretty much unparalleled, and unfortunately, if you want your Kappa container, you're going to need to muddle through it. So, let's figure out the most efficient way to get this ridiculous task done. I'm going to give you guys some general tips for every map before we get started. In general, you want to prioritize movement and maneuverability in both Shoreline and Woods. The customs map doesn't matter quite as much because of its size and also the paths leading to and from the scav base being a little bit better defended, as well as having better cover. You're going to want to use short range weaponry in customs. I'm not going to get too specific about firearms, but anything short to medium range with you know, a decent rate of fire and high damage output is going to do just fine in customs, again because of the cover to and from. But as far as Shoreline and Woods go, it's a little bit different, right? You've got a much larger amount of ground to cover between whatever your potential spawn point might be and the actual destination. In addition to that, the fields of fire are much longer, so you're going to want to bring a more flexible weapon into those two maps, preferably some kind of assault rifle with medium range capabilities. Anytime you are going to be setting up to camp, you're going to want to make sure you drop your bag. Of course, that's just kind of common sense. It sheds any additional weight you may have picked up along the way in addition to the weight of your bag. Not only that, but it also decreases your profile. You look much smaller without your bag on, especially if you have a larger bag. Also, you are prioritizing move speed by being cognizant of keeping your loot level to a minimum until you're ready to exit the map. In other words, don't fill up your rig, because you can't shed the weight from your rig without dropping your rig if you're wearing an armored rig especially. Of course, know your exits if there are any. Have a backup plan for leaving the area in case you are at a disadvantage. Suppressors, of course, are optional because at times you might actually want to be loud in order to bait additional players into the area. And a neat little trick I've used here and there is actually carrying a pistol to kill some of the scavs around the area, which might bait some chads out that are expecting to run into a pistol running PMC or something of that nature. And most importantly, the best general tip I can give you is to mind the map's rotation in relation to your spawn point, and of course where the specific scav base fits into most rotations on that map. And we'll get a little bit more into that on each specific map, of course. So with Woods, there's really only a couple of places that I used. This particular spot allows you to hear this entry point over here under the camo netting, and the entry that most players are going to use, which is this front entryway here. It's not ideal though. You're kind of restricted in how you can come out and push. This is a left-hand peek as well. You do get a right-hand peek here on people that may get past this point without seeing you. It's not very ideal. Another spot that you can use, which is pretty unexpected by most players, is underneath this storage container. The problem with this is you can just barely hear the front entrance depending on the headset and your sound levels, but this also restricts your movement while you're down in here, but no player is ever going to see you in here unless they happen to come through this back entryway, which not once did I see any players come through that particular hole the entire time I was doing this quest. The third and final and what I feel is the best spot you can utilize is actually on top of this camo netting. There's a depression in there which lets you sit just so, and it's really easy to get up here. You just jump on this rail here, you jump up here, and this is if you have a relatively high strength level. If you do not, you may have to jump from this rail over to here and get on top of this particular container to get on top of here. It's slightly higher, and if that doesn't work, you can also get on top of this tent, and once you get a little elevation here, you can sprint over and jump like that. So make sure you don't sprint when you take this jump. Just land on this particular ledge here, jump over here, and then you can get down into this. So part of the problem with this particular spot is that the scavs can see you if you're standing or anything really other than prone, sitting down in the middle of this bowl. They can't see you if they path under here for whatever reason. I don't know why. If a PMC comes through here, you're very visible, right? So you need to be very cognizant of sound coming from this direction. They're not going to expect you very much, especially if you stay on this left-hand side. so they won't see you. You look kind of like just a floating blob at first, so you'll definitely have the jump on them, but if they get too far in here, they'll definitely realize what you are pretty quickly. So just be cognizant of that rear portion. The only other thing you need to worry about is when a scav comes out and across this open area here, he can still see you. And he will shoot at you and aggro. So you wanna make sure that if anything goes out there, you do kill it. But being right here allows you to leave almost all of the scavs up, as opposed to killing them, which gives you an advantage in determining what direction players are coming from. Kind of gives you an alert system, so to speak. So this is the best spot here. You know, as they come through, you can make the determination as to whether or not you're going to stay prone to shoot at them. You know, you can move up here and get a little bit of edge over here. They're certainly not going to be looking up here for you, not until after your first few shots anyway. Minding the rotation in woods is especially important because honestly, based on where you spawn, it can be an entirely wasted run, and you may just have to reset. So for example, because the scav base is in one corner of the map in relation to the other spawns, you can you know theoretically spawn on the complete opposite corner. So if that is the case, generally speaking, it's probably a wiser use of your time to just find a way to reset, whether that means taking the car, you know, looting through and just going through a normal extract, and any of that is fine. Unless you really want to push it. But generally speaking, the only time you're going to run into players at that scav base is in the very beginning. It is a relatively lucrative area, so most players are going to hit that at the very beginning, and sometimes you'll run into some that hit it on the way out towards extract, but you know, that's much more rare. So typically I'll spend, you know, the first 15 minutes there. If I don't see anybody, then I'll just reset. The last thing you want to do is walk in there, or you know, have looted the whole place, just die to a player scav army that spawns in and goes directly there. So Shoreline is a little different than Woods in that there are a couple of different options from outside of the area, the scav base, that you can kind of plink down at people from. These are the rocks that overlook the gas station. You don't have a great shot here, but if you have a 6x or better, you can certainly kill people while they're inside of this area. You kind of have to know that they're there or be waiting up here the entire time, so I don't really recommend this, but it is an option, and it's worth checking either on your approach or as you leave, because if you see somebody heading down the road, or you know you hear shots down there, you clearly know somebody is down there. So instead of pushing in, you can take a shot or two up here rather than risking your kit and going down there. Now as you go down, there's a couple different ways to approach this. From either side, really. You can take the beach, which you know, not a lot of people seem to do, but we'll show you what that looks like here. You just kind of go on this side, and this particular approach allows you to work around any shots down the middle of the road. You're very exposed to anybody that might be waiting on the pier, on that road there. If they don't have the quest, they don't care where they kill you. You know, they don't care if you haven't gotten in there yet like you do. So the safer approach is to come down along the beach and kind of traipse this edge. You can go all the way back to the boats back there and work your way around into the building by taking this particular direction. This is also a good approach to use if Sanitar is in there, because sometimes his guards or he can be down on this platform that we're about to go by. So as you approach here, you can kind of you're on the same audio plane as the ground level, so you can hear anybody that might be in that building. Make sure you clear these tires and the tires directly to our left, as well as this staircase, because scavs can sit here and here. So then you have a choice. You can either go straight up and in like that, or you can go all the way around to the backside there. Now once we're in here, there's two different camping spots that I like to use. If you want a little more flexibility, you can just sit behind this planter, and you have total freedom of movement. You can shoot at anybody coming down here without them being able to see you. You can also jump into this planter, which not a lot of people know about. So you're not supposed to be going prone. You're not supposed to be able to go prone. Like right now, I'm spamming the prone key. It's not working. However, if you see this little blank spot here, this is not considered a bush. So you can actually stand in this spot, go prone, and then crawl your way up. Now your mouse gets a little funky here, and you want to make sure you're not sticking up, you know, forward too far, because they will. If you go too far forward, they'll be able to see you like this. You just kind of crawl back into your little bush here. and you can move back and forth to kind of get a better idea of where they're coming from. And if they come straight down this alley, all you got to do is pop out to the left, ADS in, and kill them right as they get to this threshold. They will never see that coming. The main disadvantage of this particular spot is that you cannot turn left to right. See what just happened there? When I tried to turn to the right too far, it bugged my mouse out. So you're very limited with what you can do. If they flank around to your left here along that beach entry we just took, you are very exposed. However, you know, I've been sitting here and I've had people run around me all over the place behind me, not realize where I'm at. You just stay calm. Usually they're going to give you a shot opportunity, or you can pop right up and just wheel around on them, and it's the last thing they're expecting. There is one more spot that you can use, and this is probably a little bit more functional. However, it's harder to get into, requires a little bit more time. Get up on this guardrail here. Let's see if we can make it on the first go. Here, and then here, and then straight into the tree. There we go. So we have elevation. It takes a couple practice tries. You know, you can lean out. Nobody's ever going to see you in this tree. They're never going to see you here. It's actually pretty dirty. The reason I say this spot is more functional is simply because you can cover both angles easily. You can cover the beach approach. If somebody gets clever, or you know, it's a more experienced player, he's going to take that way around, and you can cover the main approach as well pretty easily. So you just need something with medium range here. Another general note for Shoreline, that top floor is very loud. Do not loot that until you're ready to leave. And the nice thing about this particular camping spot is that you've got a potential extract right there. So once you're ready to go, after it's been about, you know, 15-20 minutes, you're probably not going to see any more players, even though this particular scav camp is centrally located in the map. You can go up there, loot your safes and all that stuff, and then head down to the extract here, and it's usually open about 30 to 40% of the time. So of the three maps, Customs is probably the easiest. It's always active. You know, there's a lot of players that are always pushing towards this area, and there are a couple of spots that can help you gain an advantage. Most people will just sit on the first floor to keep the audio and, you know, camp one of these rooms here. However, there is a better way you can retain the tactical advantage of having the higher ground and kind of, I don't want to say abuse, but take advantage of some of the audio issues that Tarkov has. So if we're up here on the second floor, the main issue is we can't hear anything below us, right? We can't hear the approach because, you know, Tarkov audio. However, there are a few spots here, for example, anything on this beam here gives us the audio from both this plane as well as down low. So you can hear anybody coming in from outside the building. You have a good direction on where they're coming from. You can see them coming up these steps or shoot at them if you choose. And you can probably have a good idea if they're coming up these steps as well. So this gives you an early warning system. Gives you a good spot to shoot at people going in and out of that room, which is one of the more popular loot rooms, obviously. So this spot is just kind of dirty in general. I'm assuming at some point, if and when they ever fix the audio in this game, this spot will no longer be viable. But for now, that is the best spot. You can sit up here. There is one more over here. And this basically does the same thing. So, and you can also get, if you get close to the edges as well, like here, for example, you can also hear that outside audio, but you're further away from the end, whereas over here you're centered. So you're kind of at a disadvantage here because you won't hear anybody entering from the construction side, and that's a pretty common entry point since it would be midway through that particular player's rotation. On the plus side, this particular area has an escape route here, and you know that can play a huge role as well if you're at a disadvantage and you just need to disengage. That's pretty much it for the customs map. You know, you can use an SMG in this particular map. The short range doesn't really affect you too much since the approach to and from this particular area, it doesn't require anything mid to long range, so you can certainly bring an SMG like an MP7 or something here that will give you a decisive advantage over somebody using a slower firing weapon in these tight quarters areas. So hopefully this information helps you complete this task and keeps you on the road to Kappa. Be sure you drop a like and a sub if this information was helpful for you, and throw us a comment down below. Additionally, you can catch us on Twitch most evenings streaming Escape from Tarkov at Omni_actual.